see. There we go. Okay, welcome. Hello. Let's see. Oh, okay. What do I have to do? It's like less things I have to do each time now. Every time I make different adjustments to things, it's like, well, I used to always have to like do the chat, and then I always had to do the social media stuff, but already kind of taken care of that, so that's actually okay, and I think we're actually almost ready to load it up. Well, that was quick. Alright. Welcome. Zoop Bubbles. Alright. Yep. Everything's loaded up. I think we're good. Mic check on. Alright, I think we're ready to go. Remember last time I got a little bit weird. But just had to do look inside myself to see like what's really going on wrong here, and then fix it up. So here we are. So please I can say hello Cookie, and everyone else who's happens to be watching, hello. Alrighty, I think we're good. Let's see. So you might notice, let's see, turn that off so you can look at the pretty picture. We're getting there. Here's the reference. So we're actually doing pretty good progress. There's not much in terms of raw elements that we need to really add. At least with the big features, you know, because we got the tree, we got the smaller trees back here, and we got these trees. Obviously, it's not gonna be one-to-one. I don't think did I ever really say like this is gonna be 100% accurate and everything's gonna be perfectly pixel aligned and somehow recreated in 3D. Yeah, it's not. So this could be my interpretation of it. I think Bob Ross will be happy with whatever I make. He'll be happy that I'm actually learned like 10 different things working on this project. Learned how to do like several different 3D stuff. I learned a lot of different wacky stuff that's like I feel like I probably should have learned at least at some point, you know. If I had like more advanced 3D classes, then I probably would have got into those, but I think most of the classes were either I think we just had like a deformer, like some kind of like bending stuff, basic modeling, and advanced modeling, and some quote animation with it. So yeah, there's there's a lot more to make this look good. Is to also use all those weird wacky techniques. Like I'll dive into some of those. Let's see though. Hi Cookie. Do you have any tips for when you need to work on an art project but don't have enthusiasm? I know that is a common struggle. Personally, let's see. Because either you just kind of just have to just do it, you pretend like it's a job and just clock in and say I'm gonna work from here to here and then just do it, or alternative is just to like take a break, step out and get some fresh air if you can. See if you can, because that I think that actually does like refresh my batteries, especially when I get into like a tricky animation project. I feel like I get so like narrow-minded and like horse blinders of like I need to figure this out and just trying to like make sure that this pose and this keyframe and this smoothing and the motions have to work, and I get very close-minded of like why isn't this working, I had to like figure this out. But as soon as I like step up and then like walk away, get lunch or something, and then it's like all the dots are like much more clear of like, oh yeah, if I just put like a color override and then like copy and paste this, walk cycle or something, then I don't have to like make a second walk cycle. It's like, oh yeah, because I was trying to like trudge through and for this particular thing of like I need 2 characters walking, and it was like I have to do the second one. I was just like I don't have time. I'm just tired of making this first one. And then I stood up and like, just like thought about it more. And then I felt like much more clear, and it's like, okay, now I feel more energized to then just go in and then work on it. But if you just don't have the energy to actually start it from the begin with, or is it enthusiasm? Enthusiasm is a little bit different from have any energy or drive, I guess. Or drive is enthusiasm. That is harder. If it's something you like the opposite personality, that is harder. I mean, you can always try to make it maybe seem like it's try to make analogies of like, you know, oh, this is kind of like how I did it with this project, or these kind of characters or their personalities are like this other show I like, you know. Let me know more details and I can probably narrow that down. But yeah. Let's see here. Thanks for the question. Yeah. Let me whoop. Now it's 3D. Wow. Let's see. Said I realized that I can get away from grabbing a lot of this run, so you can. Good advice. Okay, cool. As long as I helped you. Alrighty. So what I did here with these trees, I did redo these a little bit. It's really fun because it looks like there's like nice shading to it, like it's natural shading, at least on the bottom, but that's all painted. So it's actually got a darker, more saturated version of the lighter color, and then just make it darker and just put it in the right place. So it looks toon shaded, but it's like actually the way that I painted it. All the leaves are in there too. That's a particle system. Oh, that's the cool thing, is that I did weight painting. Otherwise they would have been all over the entire mesh. So I said, hey, don't go where it's like darker here. So let's see if I can show you that real quick. Here's where it gets really tricky. Let's go back to, I figured out there's just a texture paint little knob here. Boop. And let's see. Is this texture paint? Oh, I want weight painting. Duh. There we go. That's it. That's what I was looking for. Okay. So this looks really tricky and weird. So let me turn off the particle system so you can actually see what's going on here. So there's weight painting. That's it's like that heat map that I was saying earlier. That, let's see if it's the best color. There you go. So I was saying like the particle system respects the amount of percentage color it is from red to blue. So basically, I wanted the leaves to not be on the bottom. So it's like a cool color, I guess. Blue is cool, so it's like, ooh, we don't like being cold or something. Particles like being hot. I'm making analogies to try and make it easier for me. I never did this before. This is like my first time trying to do this, so yeah, give me a break. So what I did was I made it cold down here and then kind of rainbowies up here. Could be a little bit smaller gradient, but whatever. And then on the top is 100%. Because the particles want to be hot. So, and I did that. I had to do them individually, I think. Yeah, they're all a little bit different. So, I had to do each one of them. But I think I just kind of took it from like this angle and just go whoosh whoosh. See if I can do, if I do add. Making a pretty big radius here. Strength. This is what it would look like, is that if I can just make it from go to blue to greenish to yellow to red. And so if we turn back on the particle system, then you would see like, look, they're there now. I can see like where they're invisible too. So they're being respecting of where the colors are. So you can see like they go away. Like that. It's magic. Infrared, yes, exactly. That is this heat spot. Heat waves or whatever. So I felt like that was a relatively simple way to say, hey, I want particles of these little leaves, but only in certain sections. And then we get the colors on, and so the leaves are only at the top. So there you go. I just wanted like a couple, just to like break up the. Otherwise, it looks a little bit weird that they're just like looking like weird blobs kind of a thing. So by adding the particles, they kind of, or the leaves are particles, and kind of randomly put them around, kind of breaks up the silhouette. Alrighty. Okay. So that's what I just did literally today. Was work on that. I added one more leaf particle. thingy here. I drew this one today. It's a little bit less realistic, but it's lighter in color, so it kind of stands out more. So I did that relatively quick, but just kind of to get in there. To add more variety for the leaves, so instead of them just being the one or two different these kind of leaves, now I got these mixed in there too. So yeah, there we go. Let's play with the trees back here. Kind of got already had this model of the cage of like the same shape that these tree particles work with. I just turned the material on basically to say, hey, instead of being invisible like these other ones, or especially this one, you can kind of see back here as this invisible cage around it that's being filled with the particles. So instead I turned that cage into a material and then turned it to be full black here. So when it's really, really far away, you don't really notice it, hopefully. So yeah, it's just supposed to be like really, really far away trees. Also, I trimmed the get closer. This tree I kind of trimmed them around, moved them around, try to make them more closer to the original. It's not exact yet, but it's getting there. So, and I worked with the water down here. Excuse me. Added more polygons to this little landmass here, and I moved the water up a bit, so it makes this more whoopy-whoop kind of a shape. So I just did that all today, so that almost could have been a whole stream. So I kind of saved you one little stream to do that. Okay, let me just double check. I always get a hoot out of whenever I see my thumbnail is updated. Yay, it's looking at the leaves again. Awesome. Okay. How are we doing? What should we work on next? So I think what we got to work on is basically all the land masses. Let me put the land into the scene. Beep. So now it's got everything. There's all the land masses of beep, 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 and then beep, and then the water. So maybe we can like start from the back, or should we start from the front? What do we think? Because I think the front actually will need more detail. Like the background could just be like how I painted this card back here. Or it's basically just a flat. It's really see-through little mountain here. So I can do the same thing with this back one where it doesn't need as much detail. But I feel like if I go forward, then I would need extra little cards to, or planes to like add some of this detail here. Because the front of it doesn't really have that going on. Oh, I also got screencast keys so you can see what I'm pressing in the corner here. So you see when I press something wrong, you can definitely see what I pressed in the corner here. Yeah. Start from the back. Okie dokie. I think that'll work. Let me reframe this. There you go. Okie dokie. So we'll just do it the same way that we've done practically everything else here. Which means I need to make sure I have everything. I think I've done it. Let's go to shading at least so I can see the nodes. Oop. Up. So I want to work on this. I want to work on this. Okay. So I have... Oh yeah, I made a material as well. But this is a material. The BSDF is a basic material. It has... It's going to be opaque. There's going to be no transparency in it. And I made an image texture, which is what this is, that includes the alpha. So I might want to just take that out because it's not going to be needed. It's probably going to add more heavy file, whatever. Doing it this way. Which means that we can go into texture paint. Beep. And maybe I can find it. There you go. Everything's already set up for the other stuff. So this is the hill something. Hill probably far. Hill far. Yep. Okay. So that's our thingy. This is our UV map. So it's like the XYZ coordinates, but instead of X and Y, it's U and V. I don't know why. They're like different dimensions, so instead of saying like, well, in this 3D dimension you got X, Y, and Z, and be able to move it in 3 coordinates. But when it's like a texture, it's got different parameters, so yeah, UV. So, okie dokie. So what I want to do is go into texture paint. There we go. Save. I want to work on the hill far. Boop. I never use these. Probably should. I don't know. Always find it easier to just use these buttons up here. It's gonna mix. Okay, so what do I see here, and what do I whoopee doodle want to do? So I want to somehow show and exaggerate that maybe there's different levels, I guess. That there's this little ridge up here, and then there's another ridge back here. As if there's different elevations and different... Like this hill is probably closer to us and also kind of hilly up. So we could probably just do that with the just straight texture painting. And I don't know which way is which, so let me get into blue zone and then... Aha! Figure this out. Okay. Yeah, I just need to make sure I'm on the right place. Right axis. So this axis. Okay. Cool. This is what I'll be looking at. Toon Boom. I gotta make sure that every panel here is happy. Okay. For a start. Okay. Let's go for fill, and I probably want to just be really careful with what fill I choose. Let's probably just choose a darker color. Just like start out with, and then work my way up. Okay. So yeah, let's go back to brush, mix, and then choose some of these weirder colors and then probably go around it. Or maybe I can start somewhere else. Let's see. Yeah, let's start just like a little bit brighter. I think I could even just draw right on top here and see that, yeah, it works, so. Select 110, beep. So that's how it's gonna draw. Probably want it to be a little bit darker. Let's see. Yeah. So I can halfway cheat and just kind of trace it on here just to get like a baseline and see like, aha. That's where it is. And then kind of continue it, you know. All the way down there. I can even see from the top now. I can see this kind of ridge up here. Okay. We like it to be a little bit fainter. I wonder how you do that. Like I want it to be like somewhat like almost non-existent. Something like that. That's not working. Click. And of course, the more time I spent on this, the better. So I'm not too worried about like, oh, I'm taking too long or whatever. It's kind of like, yeah, it'll be a while. So how are we doing? It's getting a little laggy. Just want to fill this in. Okay. Same way. It's kind of creates this highlight too. That's kind of nice. This kind of happened with the other, like the, I was gonna say the balls, but like the tree leaves. They just kind of had this sort of thing where they, the painting is obviously very tied to the angle of where you paint. So if I kind of go over something that's kind of like rigid up in 3D space, it's gonna be a little bit weird. If you kind of turn it, then it's like, wait a minute, why did that paint it like that? So yeah, I see this get a little messy right there. My pen and mouse are having a little feud. Gonna clean this up. Okay. Let's see. See if I get some of this darker ridge. Notice this is pretty flat, so it's going to be somewhat simple to just kind of draw from the top. Let's see, just kind of fill it in. Kind of just breaking it down to see like what colors there are into these little patches, I guess, to say like, okay, use like the main spots, and then once I kind of get these areas kind of roughed out, then I can then go in and add more, you know, quote, textured, I guess, to it, you know. That did not change my color. So sorry for my base, I already know that what I got is already pretty much locked in, pretty much. So it'll just be up to making sure that these all play nice. Okay, so then I kind of like fade into the sea. So in a way I could make this more blue and then see if that kind of works. Okay, larger brush. Yes, once I get these areas somewhat figured out, then I can go in and add more detail. See how that's kind of looking? Yeah, that's a nice hill. Alright. Doing good. What I could do is add maybe a sharper color. It's like an in-between kind of blur these colors together a little bit more. It's like that. And then to blur it more, you do the opposite way too. So then you have like a more of a pure streak at the median. Okay, so probably want to make it more pure green, so let's get some of those. See if I can get that a little bit darker. Yeah, okay. So there's a bit of ridge on top. It's basically all the way up here. It's gonna be all much more green. So let's add a little median-ish. Use my reference and just saying, I think this will look good. Not much of a, I know what I'm doing, you know, kind of thing. It's just like more the feel of it, I guess. I'm saying, let's be more this color, so we'll just kind of go on top. More like dotty or spotty it is, the more like it feels more painted, you know. So I would just make this a little bit brighter. And just add smaller streaks. And just keep getting brighter. Keep adding more smaller details, because now I kind of mapped it out, you know. And I can kind of just go in and say, hey, let's be a little bit brighter and be a little bit smaller. That's our harsh kind of line there. Let's change you into 3D viewport. Yeah, we can already see how cool that looks. Have you be in object mode? Oh, okay. Never mind then. These both got to be in the same zone. Okay. I was trying to have this one be object mode, but then what I'm working with be texture mode. But it said nope. So here we go. I also noticed when I was working with it earlier today that it felt almost like it was being like almost vectory, I guess. And it felt like it was being it knew that it was angly or something. Like it felt like it was being weird. I don't know how to describe it. It felt like it was making like geometric shapes as like I was painting. Like if I drew something like bap bap bap, it would make it very pronounced and geometric. Let's go here. Let's make yellowy, a little bit bright. And just keep adding smaller and smaller little details there. Kind of just keep blurring it, I guess. Blurring all the lines so it doesn't seem like I'm like as if I made it this way. Kind of get in the middle, kind of get there, kind of get more yellowy. Get it a little bit darker, and then just kind of push it back in. So when wherever I miss with my little streaks in here, will then show the little highlights. There you go. So I can see right about how that looks. To get the angle. Okay. How's that? So we can probably just keep working on this forever, so probably just add a few more. Well, I want to make like some kind of rock or something. kind of a feeling. Let's probably just get up a little bit brighter. A little bit darker. Let's add something a little thing like that. Let's go back here. Make it more yellowy, bright, even larger. Just add little tiny dots to brighten it up just a wee bit more. Even back here. Let's go back to green, make it a little bit darker. And add a little bit more. Oops. Get back there. And then just push it back, making it more green, more dark. Make it more dark. Okay. I'll say that's pretty happy where I want to be. Yeah. So there you go. It's not perfect, it's not one-to-one, but I think that'll satisfy me for a bit right now. Okie dokie. So that's that, and we got that. Yay! So how's that? Okay. So I gotta keep juggling all these around. Okay. And again, we could always maybe keep finagling it, or maybe, because I see like some of the more darker ridge, like the back half isn't quite as visible. But there we go. It works. It just works. There we go. So again, yeah, just to keep comparing it, it's like, yeah, if I want to add maybe a bit more of a road darker or downer to that. But yeah, the point is to try and make it seem like it's still like a hill that has more definition, I guess, or more detail. Whereas this purple mountain back here is just a shade of purple, but something closer here feels more grounded, and it's supposed to feel somewhat closer, so you can make out more detail. So that's what I was going for. In a sense, I probably could even go in here and like start to like maybe rotate it. Might be simpler. Whoa. Or maybe not. So I want to just see where the object set origin or geometry to origin. Okay, so my origin is way over there, so let's set origin to geometry. There you go. So now we're to rotate it. Should feel more like that. And then kind of squeeze it down a little bit there. Okay. There you go. Next step. Should work on this weird big mountain thing that's on the left. What does that look like? Yeah, so it's, I could do this too. So it's kind of less definitions, maybe be slightly easier or simpler to paint. So let's see. Okay. Let me just double check to make sure I got that. So this is Mid-Hill L, of course. So it has a BSDF. Let's get rid of alpha. I did it for everything. Kind of just went through all of them, so we'll have to do that for all of these as well to make sure that they're good. Opaque. Okay. Happy. UV editing. It's good. Screencast. That looks good. Okay, so we can go back to texture paint and then say, hey, where'd you go? Beep. Okay, this is a little bit easier to know which way is which, or which way is facing which way. So, okay. It's this way. Okay. And then we'll just work on this. Here we go. So I draw. Do you do? Let's see. All right, we need to work on the other. Where do they think here? Mid hell. Beep. Yay. Okay. Now I can draw. And it's over here. So we only have to work on basically less than half of what you see, and it kind of disappears in the water as well. So there's not much. It's basically probably past here. It's probably going to be furthest we're going to be able to see. So, okay. Marked it out, and I can always go over it again. So, okay. So what actually is the details in here? So there's... I'm thinking it's kind of like a rocky sort of mountain or some sort of hill. That's why it's kind of brownish. There is some vegetation. Some highlights of something. You know, what would probably been better is if I watched the Barbaros episode that this came from, and then you'll probably say like, oh, let's make a nice little mountain here, you know, or whatever. So, whoops, you know, Because then I get to know what his thought process was, or what he was thinking. What he would call everything, I guess, yeah. I have to do some real digging to find like a high-ish quality, or at least just a JPEG of this painting. It's mostly grass with some rocky parts. Okay. As long as I keep it to be the same, you know, quote, palette, then it should be good. Yeah, thanks. I just kind of get this to be a little less. There you go. I just need like an area to say, let's work on this part below that. Let's see. Let's see. Seem to come in quite slow recently. Interesting. Well, doesn't take, you know, too long for me to read them. I see them, you know, quote live before they show up in the stream box, before you would see it on the stream box. So I see it as real time as really possible. At least when it sends the from your quote to the YouTube live chat box. So yeah, I'm not looking at it from in little portal up there. So I'm not waiting for that to show up. So, but if it's actually really slow, yeah, that's not fun. Okay. I want some color. Actually, give me my tools. Where did my tools go? Whoa. Oh, that's fun. Oh, I didn't know you could do that. Yeah. Go away. Show up. Hey, cool. I don't want these tools, though. Oh, I want to fill. Let's get this one and just make it slightly darker. Beep. Oh, I got rid of my thing. Oh, that's not good. Oh, well. Mix, brush. It's all under mine. Okay. That's probably too dark. That's not even the right color either. 30-second delay before it appears on screen. Ah, jeez. Well, how close was it when yeah, okay, they're all slowly showing up. That's too bad. Hello, Elijah. Welcome. Looks like your message showed up, so that's good. Alrighty. Bat. Okay. So let's see. So probably also Just kind of just make it a little bit darker as I go here. Actually gets lighter near the bottom here. At least that's just the quote fog, I guess. So I kind of just do it like this maybe. And then the lighter color will be. And my blender's being kind of slow too, so maybe there's also something to do with my computer trying to also process a lot of things as well. I'm barely using 1.92 of my VRAM, so let's kind of figure out a way to not have that. Let's go to UV editor. Oh no, I got my line that I try to make. Oh no, should I try to, how far do I have to go back to remove that? Pretty far, actually. Ugh, yeah. I don't think you actually can see it from the viewport, right? Ah. I'll have to clean it up later. I'll just, yeah, it shouldn't take too long to really fix that up. Oh, that's too bad. Oh well. I also need to make this a little bit even further over here. How you doing, Elijah? Good to see you. You're a pretty good commoner. Oh, hi Sasha. I believe. Welcome. Let me try to get my hand. There you go. I got your hand. And with me. Okay. Let's see. Oh, we also need to change this to be this. So there we go. Okay. I got the kind of feel like a little dark shadow there. Let's turn on the reference. So you can see that. So, okay, cool. Now we just get it to be much lighter, as if there's some sort of a highlight going on in here. A little bit brighter, a little bit smaller, a little bit better buttons. I can click inside the text box. There you go. Yeah, so the whole thing, I wanted this to feel like as if a Bob Ross painting came to life and was still feel like it was being painted. So that's my motivation with this, is to make it not like true to perfect life, but still impressionistic, kind of blobby, bunch of different colors here to kind of resemble what they're supposed to be. So I can have my own creative liberties, you know, if all this to say. And it's like, yeah, look at me go. I got it to be somewhat close to what the original looked like. Okay. So we get in there. Let's make that a little bit darker. Going over it. There we go. So I could just like paint over it, so it's not super like, oh no, it's gone, but yeah. That's a little bit of a shame though. So it's a little bit brighter down here. And also not to waste your guys' time of trying to redo with that painting again. With the far hill, I guess. That's what I'm saying. I missed my color mark there. Okay. Let's see if we can figure out how to do whatever this is. Oh, this, what I'm tracing now, it's the leaf to the tree, I think. So it's probably only this bit. Is actually here. So that's just kind of, uh-oh. So it's actually up here. Interesting. Okay. So my geometry is a little bit whack, but hello. Hi, cartoons. Welcome. You guys just joined now? Yeah, you do. So that's okay. Because I do kind of do a lot of free front-loading kind of explanations, so kind of just assume that you guys know what I'm talking about. Otherwise, it's a little bit redundant every time someone new comes in, especially whether you guys typed them all out in different sections at different times I would have to really do it several times to explain things. Let's kind of build those up. Let's see. Not really sure again what this super really is. But we got it. We sure got this. Okay. Let me make this probably like a little bit larger. It's probably like some brush anomaly kind of a thing that's like not really supposed to be there, but it's like, hey, now you're a real thing. Check it out. Let's see. Okay. So got this. So it's kind of make it a little bit darker and just kind of go down just a wee bit more. Trying to get general also shape, I guess. All this. Kind of blend it into a nice median color here. Can't just have it be straight dark, so you gotta add a couple more highlights into it. The fact that I'm able to even just do this is also just mind-boggling to me. Like right now, it's like, what? This is a 3D mesh. How am I even painting on it? People in the 90s would be freaking out. And it's like, you can, what? You can just draw on your mesh and it'd be, look how responsive it is, sort of. You know? Oh boy. Hello. Hi. A lot of letters. I'm a little dyslexic. It looks like BTTRC. Hello. Let me make this actually kind of go back in. Just a bit. There you go. Okay. Probably just get rid of this as well as probably could just get rid of it. Don't super need this anymore. And on this side too, I guess. But yeah, texturing and just 3D modeling must have been really, really tricky back in the day. I mean, it was like math and like science where like have to like super combine all the time to even do 3D stuff in the early. I mean, did they start like they modeled and started doing 3D stuff in like in the 80s, or like late 80s maybe? Not sure, but definitely there's movies in the 80s. Well, especially Tron was an 80s movie, I think. That's bright. So, oopsie. Just like the amount of tools and everything that we got now is incredible. Part of like real timeness is also really freaky. Just how responsive all this really is. I remember back in the day, like doing like my 3D work for like classes and stuff. It felt like, especially rendering, was the worst. Like, yeah, you would render your project at like, you know, the last day. If you have like a class or something, it's like, yeah, you just render it, or do it early and do it in steps, maybe probably better, so you can make sure that it would actually get done. If you had like 2 weeks for a school project or something, it's like, yeah, just start, you know, rendering as soon as you can. This is insane. It's just so long. Or I guess also just not knowing. Wow, I went upside down. That the limitations are what makes render times go longer. Yeah. Earlier animators reason because you can tell harder when it's put together. Exactly. It's like real craftsmanship to be able to do all of that. It's really commendable. Super. I mean, like in Jurassic Park, some of the dinosaurs were 3D modeled, but they fit like perfectly with the live action ish animatronic dinosaur that was also on there, that was on set. And I think they like, they're the famous T-Rex scene. It's like they go back and forth between like not a 2D, the live action set one and a 3D model. I think even in like in one shot they'd swap. That's what's also really cool. Yeah, that's it. That there's a shot in Jurassic Park where the kids are afraid in the truck, and then it's like this camera. It shows the T-Rex, and it's like the robot one, and then it kind of like moves. The camera moves through the scene, and then it kind of gets like the dinosaur gets covered by the truck, and then the dinosaur later then walks out into the distance, and it's like when you can't see the dino during the halfway point of the camera move, it actually swaps between the two. And it's like, yeah, that's definitely the most like wow. Just really showed that it's like, yeah, you can do some pretty impressive stuff. With it was also very proprietary, if you want to call it that. That it's very they made the tools for the specific jobs. So if you had something that needs to deform or inflate or something, then you would have to create a whole program, you know, specifically for that. You know? So it's like, yeah, I need to make something that has a particle. Well, it's like we have to write a whole program, you know, to be able to do that. So every shot needs to be very like figured out, you know. And it's like, yeah, you need to know what you're doing, or know what you want to do. Working with directors to figure out like, yeah, what's possible, you know, at this point, what are you guys able to do? With talking with the effects team and say like, yeah, we don't really have a program that can like actually do these inflatings or transformations and morphings, you know, like on Terminator kind of special effects of like, yeah, you have to make a whole bunch of proprietary like new technology to do all those special stuff, you know. Now it's like everything's kind of built into Blender. It's like, yeah, I didn't have to like write any of this or like special, you know, coding to say like, yeah, I want this to be, you know, able to do these sort of stuff. That's like, yeah, I'm just kind of just doing it. Like everything's kind of like built in a sense, as I can just say like, yeah, I'm just gonna do today, I don't know, how about this, you know. It's like, yeah, show me the wave, you know, modifier, all these things. There's specifically one for ocean. So I'm using that, and it's like, yeah, let me just use that, tweak some parameters and go boop, done, you know. And it's like looks, you know, beautiful and perfect, just because it's like, yeah, Blender works to make sure that the defaults look pretty good and everything kind of works out really well. So it's like, yeah, it's just up to the end user to use, you know, all these pre-made tools and just kind of make them with the artistic, you know, back-end stuff of like, yeah, you already got this already set up, so then you can use that to figure the rest of the stuff out. Obviously, there's still, you know, stuff that's like, yeah, we don't really know how to do that quite yet. Still kind of comes up today, but I think it's very less so than even like 5 years ago. As technology evolves, I was like, yeah, all those, I think the Mandalorian and all that kind of stuff are like the 3D VR-ish sets where it has to wrap around screen with the Unreal Engine sort of like backgrounds that can do real-time stuff that's like really incredible. That would have been really, really tricky to do in real time. Or at least it would have been really lagging, just like not usable for a film production kind of a sense. That's okay. Probably want to make it a little bit smaller. It feels slightly jank. Let's make it a little bit less jank. How do we make less jank? Maybe just make this a little bit smaller. Or I can add like maybe more yellow to the rest of the environment here. Yeah, just so I can just like a pop of color somewhere. Just go pop, 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 pop. Not too much. Pop, pop, pop. Well, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Oh yeah, this isn't 2D. That I felt like it was just kind of like angling out, just figuring out the vectors and stuff. Like, it's not like Photoshop. It feels like it's trying to figure out the motion I just did. That's red. Excuse me, but really? Ugh, here you go. Go over it a little bit. Kind of hide it back in. Pop it back in. There you go. That's something. Yep. Yep. There you go. Okay. Probably like overpronounce this. Probably want to go back in. Let's just kind of make this probably a little bit smaller. Probably doesn't need to be that big. And then every time you do something, you gotta add a highlight. And then when you add that highlight, you gotta add another highlight. There you go. Give me this. Can I get that shape back in? Okay. So that's something. I keep always making that scale always like huge, so it's probably only supposed to be like rip like that big, but I made it huge. Oh well. Let's see if I can try and blend it in a little bit. How's that? I watched the first episode of the episode SpongeBob, the Rugrats 3D remake. I don't know if people are. How many guys have you guys seen? At least that first episode. It's like a double feature. It's the Paramount Plus Rugrats reboot. Cause I got some opinions. It's not, you know, wholly bad. It's definitely, if you like Rugrats, then you'll definitely like it. But if you're looking for something that's like, ooh, it's gonna challenge my mind or something, it's like, let me see what you got here, you know. Show me some quick wit or, you know, really, really clever writing, please. You're likely to not be too happy. Not to say it's bad or anything. It's just like, it's yeah, it came out a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it just took a while for me to actually watch it. Yeah, as I said, it's Rugrats, so it's like if you don't like Rugrats, then you're not gonna like the reboot, because it feels very the same energy, very the same humor. Because it's not the all grown up, you know, version of them, so they're still babies, you know. So it's weird because you know, probably all of us kind of grew up with OG Rugrats. That's kind of probably want to have like a, you know, all grown-er up, you know, kind of a show where it's kind of like, now they got to do with adult stuff. They're adults or something. Like how Andy grew up in Toy Story, you know. He grew up with the films. The Rugrats is kind of they're babies again. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. So they're still having their fun childhood adventures. So it's kind of like, oh, yeah, okay. I was watching and going like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm still like enjoying this kind of stories and stuff. There you go. It's not bad. It still feels big. I made it smaller, but how does it still feel too big? Anyway. Yep. You'll see that much anyway, and probably see that much of it as well. Let's see. Beep. Yeah! You have to clean that little blemish there. Let's see. Okie dokie. Alrighty. Let's probably move on. Be careful about that. Okay. Is the sun on? Yes. Okay. I do just kind of want to go back into this one and clean it up. Maybe we're doing toaster time. I'll do it. Okay. I get some water. Oh, it is toaster time. Yeah, that went quick. Painting these take a while, so I might have to do a couple more streams of these. Let me get some water. Okay. Hello, no person. Welcome. I don't like to see cartoons moving to 3D in general. When a classic people with classic feel that way seems particularly unfortunate. Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah. Let me go to toast time real quick, and I'll answer your question, and I'll finish this blemish. I feel like if the 3D isn't done, you know, very... It is faithfully. It is just like the motion design feels a little bit off. It's hard to describe exactly what made me feel like, ugh, this is a little bit weird. I'm not able to... I had to do the other one. Probably broke the other one by doing that. That's probably what happened the last time. Yes, it is. Okay. So instead of doing that mistake again, now I'm learning that. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, with cartoons going, with traditional 2D cartoons going in 3D, it's super hit and miss. There's no like really skirting around that. It's like, yeah, it's either gonna look really good or really good and faithful and feel like it's a cartoon, like the Scoob movie that came out a couple years ago, or was it? I don't know how long. Thank you, Elijah. Thank you for coming. The Scoob movie was actually really good. I feel like that. Felt the same like energy as if it was. Like they had good posing. I feel like it's probably like the most like. Make it to feel good. To watch, or more fun to watch, as if the posing feels more as if someone really you know, I haven't really done much 3D animation and know, you know, how tricky it is, but I think it's just mostly just comes down like this storyboarding and just posing to say let's make more the more ooh. Trying to find the words that the poses felt more storyboarded and more like actually like posed out to say. Exaggerated is probably the best. Exaggerated poses always feel really good, or to watch a 2D cartoon go into 3D. It's like, yeah, they still feel and have that same motion to it, as if the Three Stooges, you know, if they had a 3D movie, they would need to have very specific, you know, because they're having to deal with like real people as well as their cartoony versions of themselves, you know. Trying to get this color here. It's probably more dull. Oh, wasn't it probably larger as well? To do like a Three Stooges thing, you would have to be very knowing to, you know, quote characters in it, but also like just how they move and like what kind of mannerisms and stuff they have to do. I think there was probably some cartoons, at least they were in probably like the Scooby-Doo, I think probably the when they had that series of all those like, hey, let's get the basketball globetrotters in here, like let's have them solve a mystery. Yeah, I don't think those were very, you know, caricatures of them, but not like super realistic or something. I don't know. But yeah, like feel like if you're gonna do a 3D stuff, then you're gonna, especially if it's a well-known cartoon that you know and grew up with, that's like, you know how these characters would react or how they supposed to move, that when they go to a different dimension and a 3D dimension, it's like, yeah, they're not moving the same way, or not posed the same way, or like not timed out the same way, then obviously that'll feel a little bit off. So I feel like with the Rugrats one that I watched, it's like, yeah, it's kind of, they're not animated the same way, and the motion design is not the same thing, so it'll feel a little bit like, eh? That's a little weird and a little, feels almost choppy, but then it's like, well, you're 3D, but then you're not, I don't know. Yeah. To fix it would be to be a bit more exaggerated, more posing. There is posing, but it's probably like the timing charts. It's probably like the simplest, and like most of you not really know like how important those things are, but it's like, yeah, I want to show my Midnight Mirrors stuff, but I feel like that's probably confidential, and director would be pretty mad if I showed any of that kind of stuff, but frankly I don't think he's seen it, so I don't know. Probably never watched his either, so I was like, I just find one online to show what I mean. It's like a diagram that kind of shows you, shows the animators like, oh, here's one that, yeah, this is probably a pretty popular one. Hip, hip, hip. Show me the thing. Beep. Okay. So I could probably explain this. Let me go on a tangent about more animation stuff. Whoops, haha. Here we go. But this will be fun. Can I get it centered here? Yep. Okay. So these are timing charts. I don't know how accurate these are, but definitely they're probably someone looked at them and probably figured it out. So I don't know if these are 100% accurate, but we'll see. But the way to read these is every time a character like moves, or like if a hand needs to move upward, if a head needs to move around, what's the spacing and what's the easing and ease in and ease out sort of ways that they it's kind of like making these is kind of like making a guideline to say, hey, all of us animators in the studio, I don't want you to, you know, animate like this for every motion while Johnny Test is doing it this way, or, you know, Roger Rabbit is like on ones. But Gumball is somehow able to get like with 4 frames to do a certain easing. So let's see if I can, there's some way to kind of break it down, or more favoring. Is there a GIF? There we go. Yeah. General, yeah, that's what I mean. It's like, yeah, I mean, every single motion is not going to be exactly that way, but it's kind of gets to the general, yeah, version of it. But easier to say, like, when things move, where should the spacing of stuff be? Let's see, that's a B. Let's see. Credit to the person who made this. Sorry, can't see you. Just go on a visual one so you can see. So slow in evens, hold evens. Slow out. Half evens, all evens. It's a little bit tricky to explain with this one. But the spacing sort of sets up like how, in a general term, how smooth things feel. Like with the Johnny Test and even Samurai Jack in some sense, in Gumball. Those will feel more like if something goes across. Let's see, so something starts here, it's Miku. If she starts here, then the next frame she's only here, but the next frame she's all the way over here, and then bop. So it becomes this boop, 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 boop. Where Roger Rabbit's kind of evenly spaced out and go do 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 for every frame. Samurai Jack do 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 whoop do do do. So that's kind of fun. And so there's just like this 4 here that it kind of eases in, but then has a weird hitch, and then it slows back out. That's sort of how you read it, is that you can follow through and say like, of each frame, where is the object or motion that you're doing. So this is pretty I don't know what I do. How would I do it? I would feel, I don't know which one's the best here. Because my timing chart has it be a, mine would start here and then have a frame of it being to the outside, I guess, or it goes the opposite way first, and then it goes zoop, 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 whoop, whoop. So, hello, Nightly. So instead, my version of my cartoons, they go whoop, whoa, kind of a feeling. So you can kind of, it's impossible to tell with these because as I move these, it's not quite, you know, bop, 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 bop. Whatever it is. So the less frames, the more. You would think it'd be faster, but it's also kind of just setting the spacing of the actual arc in motion. We put these on like in a curve. That's what some of these are. That I saw one where it had a full curve. Let's see. But if you put that line that we saw onto an actual arc, then that's kind of like the spacing of it. So this is pretty even in a sense, and you can kind of feel and kind of watch it, and it doesn't like skip. That's kind of what that this one's trying to say, is that if a hand or something, if you're pointing, where does the hand, if it needs to go downward or upward, let's say it's downward, it needs to go up. So it starts from the bottom and then slightly goes up a little bit, and then it jumps from 2 to 3 pretty far in distance on the motion arc, and then it slows down just to get into a more resting position. This doesn't quite say if this has like you know, even a Roger Rabbit, I'm not sure whether or not that includes those two mean that you have a inverse motion at the start and then another inverse at the end, you know. What are those? Not settle. It's like the opposite of a settle. Yeah. So anyway, if the timing chart is different between like traditional like Rugrats between the 3D version, then your brain will think like, well, this is a little bit awkward, you know. You're used to it being a certain animated in a certain motion way, subliminally, regardless or not, you know, and then it'll be a little bit different. I think I've actually used this picture as well to explain it, and I feel like I never got better at explaining it either. So, whoops. You'll just have to look online. That these are spacing kind of a thing. Timing charts, these are also X sheets that get a little bit more complicated. But these are classic. These are, you know, golden age, 20s and 30s kind of started these, that when they got like more studio wise, you can use these to hand this to a whole studio or different department and say, hey, animate it. And it's like, well, how do you want me to animate it? How many frames and how many drawings? And it's like, whoop, it's all right here, you know. You get all the timings and spacing all set in a nice X sheet or exposure sheet. So it's probably some guy who had to fill out every single frame or keyframe basically for an entire cartoon. So it has some lip sync in it. They get a little more complicated depending on how deep you want to get into it. But the basic is that each column is like the timeline. So remember in Flash and Toon Boom, the timeline is left to right, but the X sheets, they write them up to down. So it's saying on frame 1 and then nothing, and then this is a lip sync looking thing. So on frame 3, have the character say a T shape for two, and then 2 frames later have the mouth being ooh kind of a shape, and then hold that until frame 9, which you switch to a D. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Then you just follow through and say all through that. So some of these would also have little notes or something to say like, here's where I want the motion to start, have them start walking, have any kind of, every sort of motion that they have to do be all outlined in this kind of Excel sheet style kind of a thing. So yeah. Hope that made sense. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff you can look at to see how that looks. So yeah, that's partly the reason why I would think if the 3D motion design and any sort of cartoon feels off, it would be something like that. Would have a contributing factor. Not to say like that's the only reason, but if you're specifically talking about animation and motion design, then it would likely stem back to how the timing charts and I don't think they use X sheets on paper anymore. So it would probably just be like a tighter animatic is usually the more modern way to say like certain timings and stuff. So we can have digital animatics to say, hey, start walking on frame 10, and then the animatic would have it be have a picture of the character starting to walk, sort of a thing. So that's sort of the new way. That's been for a while with animatics, but yeah. So it's more based around animatics instead of having X sheets and all these crazy stuff, I would think. I'm not an expert on all of this stuff, but I know about it a lot that I'm not sure. You know, I haven't been in a studio setting, let's say. I've never been in a studio to say, like, this is how they're actually operating, but I know all about the operations in a sense, so whether or not they have secret X sheets filed somewhere and they use it every day, that's something that I wouldn't know, but the way that I usually animate on my own self for my stuff is that I make a script, I make a storyboard, make that into an animatic by adding keyframes and moving things around, and timing the storyboard pictures out into, you know, quote animations, where they're just basically just poses of characters, and we have to like move over across the stage, and I would make keyframes to like say, hey there, XY position here, and then XY position over there later in time, so it becomes an animatic. Then use that as a base to reference from. That's what I mean, like that's what I'm used to, in a sense that I'm just using the animatics as a sense to time things out. So if something needs to start at a specific frame, then I'm looking at the storyboard and say like, we're the animatic, and look at that, and then time it out from there, and then start my motions. So there's always a little bit of wiggle room. Animatics, I feel like with my own personal stuff, it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna get it, you know, super locked in and say like, I'm never gonna change this walk cycle from frame 10 to 11. That's never gonna happen. I don't say that. I tend to say like, maybe this needs more time. Maybe, you know, I'll just add a little more time. Maybe like make this, you know, make this comedy, you know, punch a little bit longer, or maybe faster to be even more funnier, depending on what I'm feeling. So all my animatics are not, you know, super set in stone that I wouldn't change it or wouldn't lock it, but they're there so I can have a reference, so I can look at it. Especially my movie has been going on for so long that it's been a couple years since I made my original storyboards, that I definitely wouldn't know what I was thinking back then. So it's actually a huge good reference to look at to say like, yeah, I have this already made, pre-planned version of the animation that I want to do. I storyboarded a rough version of the whole movie, like in 2017, 18-ish. And so I'm slowly going through it and animating it. So if I didn't have the storyboards back then, it would be, I would have to like look through the script and try to like figure out like what I meant by a whole bunch of stuff with the script too, which is very abridged of the script that I got now. I've haven't really included new scenes per se, but just added more smaller moments, and it's like the whole like part 4 where it's like Derpy goes through all the different like stands, like the t-shirts and the ice cream and the newspaper. Those weren't in the script. They were just like, oh, she chases through the city and then comes up across the snakes on the boat. You know, just kind of like that kind of like, this is what happens. But then I had to like go into the storyboard and make something rough by using that script. And then years later, when I actually started to work on and animate it, I then fleshed it out and like I had new ideas because I took that little break, full circle with that. Took what I had of the animatic that just had like, oh, she kind of just chases through and, you know, this vague idea of what I wanted. And then I took that break in a sense that it worked out that it's like, oh, I have these new ideas for what I want. So it's just like, hey, let's have more ideas and more fun things that can happen, like the ice cream in the newspapers and stuff. Like those specific stuff wasn't even in the original animatic. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to explain that. I think that's probably the. I probably only have the rough enough in mental capacity to probably talk about that as at that much length. So, yeah, I think you're free to go. I'll wrap it up. I'm noticing that these lost their textures. Huh. I'll have to work on that. That's unfortunate. I'm not sure what just happened. It has been. I'm freaking out because this happened last time. Is that? Yeah, I'll have to figure this out because I think my texture work and everything that I did today actually got deleted somehow. I'll have to look through the stream to see what happened here. Huh. Okay then. Well, I just got really scared. I was like, wait a minute, is this actually gone? Like, what? Wait, what actually happened? I don't have another version of it, right? Okay. Well, I think Blender deleted my painting that I just did, and everything's gone. So, yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'll have to go to the stream again to see if there was a point of time that I had it, and then I'll just kind of just go back a bit, maybe through time, and see. And at some point, what? How did I lose it? It's gotta delete the header thing. Okay, well, I'll have to work on that. Oh, geez. Okay, well, I got that bit. The other thing wasn't as good, so the closer mountain. So I'll have to work on that one later then. Okay, I'll fix things up. So for next week, I guess we still got more stuff to do with this. So until then, alrighty. Well, that was weird. I don't know. I don't know, man. Alrighty. See you guys. Okay, I'll figure this out. On next Tuesday at 4 p.m/7, whatever you live. We'll continue with this, and I guess we'll work on the closer bips, like the foreground and foreground and water here. So there's still plenty of stuff to do. So whether you like it or not, we'll continue with this. Okay, thank you guys. Until then, all right, thank you guys. Bye-bye. Alrighty. Thank you.